Hello, just a little bit of feedback about question 6 from the exam practice paper 4 that we did, and this was analysing the data sets that we were given. A lot of numbers about the ages of mothers throughout different years. So there's tons and tons of data out there now in the world being collected all the time. And we as statisticians need to be able to analyze it and see some patterns. Now this is an amazing website called Gapminder. There's so many things to play with on here. This graphic in the beginning is so interesting. You should have a look at it. What I wanted to look at was the different data today. So if you go into facts and click on data, this website has a load of different data that is used to make these different graphics. It's about health, about education, about different parts in society. And the one that I've looked at is energy. And I've looked at the nuclear energy, and I've downloaded this file, nuclear energy production. There's an interactive version here, but I've downloaded the Excel file by clicking on this button here, and I will share that with you in a moment. So this Excel file, let's have a look. Like I say, this is a massive data set, and this is just one data set for all of the countries in the world. You can see those listed on the left hand side, and it's their total amount of energy produced through nuclear. So I'm going to talk through what I think about as I'm looking at this data. I'm going to put forward some possible questions, and then I'll set a task with things that you need to do using this data. So first thing to notice is that there's some gaps and there's also some zeros. So that's one of my questions. Why is there gaps compared to zeros? This is something that I don't know about this data set. That's something that I might want to find out more about. It looks like there's lots of empty data in the left hand side of the table, and that corresponds to the earlier years. When I go to the right hand side of the table, it seems to be pretty much full, particularly these last 10 years, 2010, 2005, all of these seem to have been filled up, and lots of them filled with zeros. So nuclear energy, does every country produce it? Well, I can see straight away, no. There's lots of countries that don't produce it. There's plenty that do. So one question that I could ask myself, how many countries produce nuclear energy? That's one thing that I could calculate. I'm just going to write that down over here. How many countries generate nuclear energy? I've got some other questions there that I'll go back to in a moment. Okay. So I could use some Excel skills in counting the countries, or I could just have a look through and count which ones are producing. Okay. Another thing to look at, are there any that stopped producing? Okay, so it seems that there was less countries in the beginning than there are now producing. So it seems like nuclear energy is more popular now, but that's just from looking at the data and having a feel of it. So that could be another question. When did countries start producing nuclear energy? Okay. Have any countries stopped producing nuclear energy? So we should be able to find this answers to these questions from this data. Okay. Are there any patterns in these numbers? Well, let's just have a look at one country to begin with. Let's have a look at Belgium. So that number's 344 in 1962, and it seems to be getting bigger, and then it goes down. There's a gap in 1965's data. I don't know why. That's something we could investigate. It's gone down to 516. Not sure if that's right or not. I'd expect it to be about 5,000, seeing as the other ones were going up. But then it's gone down again, 1,000, 5,000. Okay. Okay, these numbers seem to be getting bigger. That is just about 1 million in cell T13. Just over 1 million, just under 1 million. Let's go across. We're now in 93. That's 3.6 million. In 2010 the most, or 2011 actually, the most recent entry, 4 million. Okay, so that's for Belgium. That seems to have increased, but it's gone down and then up again. We could think about what graphs we could draw for that. That would be a time series graph. Have a look at that. Then let's have a look at another country. So Belgium, European country, quite small. I think I've seen some quite big numbers for the United States. So let's have a look at them. It's a bigger country, larger population. And they started producing energy before. But actually, look at that compared to the UK. United Kingdom, even in 1960, which is the first year I believe, in 1960, we were producing nuclear energy and quite a lot more than the United States. Has that stayed the same or has that changed over time? So yeah, all of these numbers seem to be increasing. Oh, hang on a minute, the United States numbers are bigger now. So up until here, United Kingdom numbers were bigger, and then around about here, so column L, column M, which is the years 69, 70, 71. There's been a changeover, and now United States are making more nuclear energy. This carries on, this carries on. Let's have a look at our most recent entries. 1, 2, 3 zeros there. 70 million for the United States and 5 or 6, almost 6 million for United Kingdom. So although we started nuclear energy a lot earlier, or at the same time at least, and we were producing more then, we haven't increased as much. So again, graphs for this, you want a time series graph with those two different countries labelled on it going across. There are different technical skills you can use to do that. Okay, so a few things that I've thought about when I've looked at this data set, and I've only played with this data set for 5 or 10 minutes before recording this video. Why are some entries blank and some zero? So that will be a question we need to give to the data collectors. How is the data collected? Is this reported by each country? Is that data reliable? Or is there some way that it's being collected? Things that you might want to research outside of this database. When was nuclear energy first used? This database starts at 1960. but I'm thinking about there was a nuclear bomb in the Second World War, 1939, 1945. So there must have been nuclear energy before 1960. We just don't have the data on it. Which country first? And how does this compare with other energy produced? Coal, gas, wind power. Okay. Things that we could investigate within this: which countries have increased or decreased their production of nuclear energy. We can find out when they've started, how many. We could look at the total amount produced globally as well, because we've got all of the data for the whole world here, and also have a look at which countries start and stop. So that's just a few ideas of what you could research on this data. Let me remind you, this website, gapminder.org, this was just nuclear electricity production. Okay. We could look at also coal, electricity, gas, oil. Within other topics, there's health. Okay. We could have a look at populations. So if there's gender balances in each ones. Urbanization, this is the amount of people living in urban areas compared to countryside. There's so much data in here. Each of these comes along with a table with different amounts of data. This is interesting. Gaps of 5 years. Why might that be? That's something to find out more. Okay, so I'll give you some instructions in the document as well. So that's Gapminder, and I'm going to share the data set about nuclear energy as well.